Joining us this morning is Brent's friend and fellow colleague, award-winning journalist Jeff Newton. Jeff, thank you so much for being with us. First, our condolences for your loss. Can you tell us the last time you talked to Brent?
I think I talked to him the day before he left for Poland. So that was probably, I don't know, a week ago or something like that, 10 days, something like that.
You've been a producer for Vice, 60 Minutes, National Geographic. You've covered war like Brent. You know that there is a high price that is paid for journalists who cover these wars, not just in terms of the danger, but personally. Why was it so important for Brent to tell part of this story, do you think?
Well, I just think it speaks to what you guys spoke to earlier. He wasn't sort of like a war junkie or anything like that. He was one of those kind of people who just really believed in the whole process of telling stories about the human condition. He always was focused on the stories of people who were affected. He very seldom was ever focused on bombs that were, dropped between soldiers, or he was really focusing on people who were affected. That's why he was so passionate about covering refugee stories. That's why he was so passionate about covering the stories you mentioned, like the one in Chicago, or homeless shelters for teens in New Orleans. And I think that it's just really important to sort of keep that in perspective. That was pretty much how he was.
No doubt passionate, but do you think he knew the danger he was in?
Yeah, I mean, we've worked in all over the place together. We, worked in Somalia for months on end. We've worked in Libya when ISIS was trying to take over that country. We worked in Mosul when ISIS was fighting with the Iraqis and Americans. And we certainly are aware of the kind of environment that those kind of things bring. And, it's part of sort of the byproduct of what we do. And unfortunately, there's sort of a risk in being in those places, but it's very difficult to tell those stories well if you're, on a rooftop all the time, sort of talking to a satellite dish. You have to get amongst people and talk to them about their experiences. And that's what he was doing that day.
Do you think that there was some part of him that wanted to make sure that the story in Ukraine and the people who are fleeing for their safety was being told correctly? There is a lot of criticism of journalism today. Do you think that he felt a personal obligation or duty to helping tell the story right?
Yeah, always. I mean, that's what drove him constantly. There's no doubt about the fact that those places are dangerous, and I'm not sure necessarily where all the criticism comes from. If people want to see what the Russian government, what Vladimir Putin is doing to Ukrainians, you have to have journalists on the ground telling it. And if you're sitting in a safe house all the time, you can't really do that very well. You have to get out and talk to people. And the only way to do that is to sometimes take those risks. Those risks are, you can assess those risks and you can mitigate them as much as possible, but you can't account for every sniper in a window in a place like Ukraine. So that's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. And he knew that. And he's covered countless, places around the world and in dangerous places. I've been with him in a lot of those places where ISIS is dropping hand grenades from drones, on a building that was 2-3 miles from the front lines. You can't account for every situational event that's going to happen in a conflict zone.
Do you believe the reports that Ukraine is saying Russian forces took out Brent?
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody else doing it. And unfortunately, they have a reputation for shooting civilians. At this point, they've established that on their own. They're shooting innocent civilians. They're bombing civilian buildings. They're bombing hospitals and, schools and all sorts of places like that are not military targets. And I think that, their goal is to create as much terror as possible among the population so that the population flees and they can fight military targets one-on-one. It makes it a lot easier for them. And I think if they create a lot of confusion as well on the ground with the civilian population, they scare journalists to not be there, then they can do whatever they want. That's what they want. And I think instead of necessarily making everybody go away and not be a part of covering that, they need to allow people to stay and do what's necessary to continue to shed a light on what Putin and his forces are doing in Ukraine.
One more question for you. You knew him well. What do you want the world to remember Brent Renaud for?
I think the most important thing is that he was very kind. He cared about humanity. He was an understated guy who didn't talk a lot. If you ever sat with interviews where he's interviewing people, his questions were very simple and got to the heart of the matter. It was never about him. Here's a guy who was a Neiman Fellow, went to Harvard, educated at Columbia University, but it's from Arkansas, not exactly a place that turns out, Harvard graduates on a regular basis. And if you would have talked to him, on a regular basis, you never would have known that he had, was a Neiman Fellow or he went to Columbia or anything like that. He was super understated. The pictures you see in front of you where he's, dressed like a guy who just got out of the shower kind of thing. He worked on a construction site. He was very much an everyman. And that's, I think, the reason why he works so hard to tell those stories, because it was in his DNA.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.